Hey there, sacred friend. You're listening to the Crystal Shaman Life podcast, and I am your host, Lori A. Andrus. This podcast is a place for you to press pause on the busyness of your day-to-day life. It's a place to reconnect with your authentic self, to discover your voice of inner wisdom, and to become the courageous creator of your adventurous, vibrant, and spirit-filled life. In each episode, we will get raw and real, exploring how to bring crystal wisdom, spiritual practices, ceremony, ritual, and soulful travel into your everyday life. So grab a cup of tea, light a candle, get cozy, and let's dive in. Hey, hello, sacred friend. I am Lori Andrus, and welcome to this episode of the Crystal Shaman Life podcast. Hey, guess what? We are at episode 100. Yeah. Oh my goodness. I'm so excited. Today I want to do just a bit of celebration and to really sink into the place of celebration in this episode. But let me tell you, it has taken me a little bit to get to the recording part of this of this episode. Some episodes is like I just pull up the mic and I land into the conversation really smoothly. And other times it's like I'm kind of trudging along a little bit for one reason or another. And today kind of feels like that. But the reason is kind of funny. And perhaps I should take a little photo of this and post it on social media because it looks hilarious. But the trudging along issue is that I rearranged my office over the weekend. I'm very excited about this. I like rearranging furniture. I really, really do. My office is not really in a different arrangement so much as I really just traded out one desk in our household for another. And in that process, the desk that I traded to is a desk that raises and lowers. So I now have a desk that I can stand at, which is very, very delightful. I had been feeling like I'm sitting behind the computer all of the time. And while very often I would bring my therapy ball in and I'd sit on my ball, or I always sit on either a stool or my therapy ball. Those were my two seating preferences because they were just comfortable. But I kept feeling like, oh gosh, I'm just slouching over all the time, so much more than I really want to. So, Chris and I did some rearranging over the weekend and we brought this desk up. It was in the basement studio area and, I'm really happy. But the funny thing, the awkward thing is that now the position of my microphone is not the same as it has been. I don't know exactly where it wants to go. So right now I have a stack of books and a stack of oracle cards propping up my microphone so that I can stand behind it and have it at the proper height. We'll see how this sounds. I do not know. Oh my goodness. I think I've tried several different heights and positions and stuff like that since today in trying to record this episode. This is where the slow movement in that I'm referring to is coming from. But that said, I'll get it figured out at some point. It'll be great, and I'll find my new rhythm in the new setup, and that'll be great. But one of the things that's so exciting is that this desk, which is really a table, is much bigger than the desk I was using. And I am able to spread out all of my papers, all of my notes that I take pre-podcast or pre-episode, spread them out right in front of me so that I can see everything, which is fantastic. So My notes are out in front of me. I feel great. I'm standing. I've got my crystal in hand, candles burning, got my cup of coffee. Yeah, this is perfect. And finally diving in to this episode. So the theme for today and where I'd like to go is looking forward and looking back. And really, part of where that comes from is that here we are at episode 100, and it feels like a significant milestone. And like I'm crossing a threshold into another chapter. And what I haven't shared yet is that there is another chapter coming. There's a change coming with this podcast. And we'll talk about that more as we get towards the end of the episode. But for now, I want to do a bit of a looking back. I want to look at some of the highlights of this podcast. The first highlight I want to tap into is you. I want to thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you from the deepest place in my heart for being a part of this community, for tuning in, for listening, for joining me, for your love around the episodes, for sharing your experiences. So many of you have dropped me notes over the years, sharing different things that just jumped out to you from the episodes, things that really were the bits that you needed to hear at the right time. And that to me is so incredibly joyful. So thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you for being here, for being a part of this community, for tuning in, for listening, for sharing, all of that fun stuff. That's celebration number one. Celebration number two. All right, so I perused through 100, technically I think about 105 episodes, but 100 numbered episodes. And I just looked at, what were some of the really popular episodes? What were some of the themes that seemed to show up over and over and over? What were some of the stories that came forward? What were things that came up within the podcast? It was fun. It was really fun to look back at the things that came forward. From crystal messages to sacred travel to the energy of the times, what's emerging from one day to the next, and what collective stories are unfolding and want to be acknowledged and voiced and dove into. So one of the threads that I noticed was a thread of crystals for changing times. This was a series that came out, I believe, in 2020, right as we stepped into that point of changing times. There was a lot going on personally for me. I think these came out at the end of March, like around the 31st, and then the last one I think was maybe around the beginning of May. They were crystals for changing times, and I think I saw smoky quartz, iolite, Petoskey stone. There might have been a couple others in there, but those were the three that popped for me. And the theme of how do we navigate changing times and what crystals and stones really wanted to emerge as allies during those times. And those were the ones that really came forward, and they had a lot to say about how we navigate navigate change. And I think change and changing times, I think that is a theme that has continued in our world. It's a theme I know that I've continued to speak to here on this podcast since that point. And to be quite frank, I don't think it's a theme that's going to end anytime soon. I think it's one that we're going to be navigating. Well, I think it's a part of being human. And I think it's a part of, part of life. And as we look forward, we all play a role in both personal and collective changes. Obviously personal, but in collective changes, how we experience them, how we navigate them, how we flow with them. And I think one of the first things that's really important in navigating change, whether it's on a personal level or on a collective level, is to give ourselves permission to celebrate the journey thus far, and to give ourselves space to reflect upon our own highlights and lowlights, and where things went amazing and where they maybe didn't go as we expected, and to give ourselves the opportunity to mine the jewels from those experiences, to receive the wisdom that has come forward, and then to honor the experiences and allow them to be complete, and create space to move forward. That's really what happens as we give ourselves permission to look back with love and compassion and presence. We mine the wisdom, we receive the gifts, and we allow ourselves to create space for moving forward. That's kind of what this episode's about. Yeah, it really is. But, I think this is a continuous thing. And as we continue on the sacred spiral of life, we meet with times where we feel far away from where we think we're going, and times when we feel in perfect alignment with them, and continuing to move forward. Yeah, it's a beautiful thing. Okay, so the next piece that I really found as a very strong theme throughout all of the episodes was leaning into the crystals and stones as allies for navigating what is unfolding on the earth at this time, and navigating our own personal journeys, and understanding the unique gifts we have to share with the world. Oh yeah. So one of the things that I saw as I was looking back, as I was perusing these episodes, was a theme of crystal wisdom, crystal messages. But there's a unique piece around the messages that have come forward over the years. And if you've been, listening for a while, you know that I tend not to be the person who looks to the book for the answer. I listen to what the crystal wants to say, not just in general, but what it wants to say about right now and the collective and what's unfolding. And so the messages that have come forward are reflective of what is unfolding at pivotal times in the world and within this community. I think that's a really interesting aspect of what this podcast has brought forward, this different way of listening and tuning in and receiving wisdom from the crystals and stones. And I think this is, for me, it is such an important aspect of how we work with our crystal and stone friends. Okay, the third theme that emerged. Oh my goodness, I think this one was really fun. It lit me up when I saw it. I was like, oh, wow. There was a thread of episodes around soulful travel and specifically around Lake Superior. Yeah, actually, there's quite a few episodes around Lake Superior. No coincidence that Chris and I have landed up there for our summers. Um, Wow, the energy and the essence of soulful travel and just, sacred travel, mindful travel, being aware of how we're tuning in to the places that we visit, how we experience them, how we show up, all of that fun stuff. That was just a really great series. I think if you go back through the episodes, this would have been back in 2019. I think it's maybe, episode 25 or something like that. There's a series, 3 episodes on soulful travel, a part 1, a part 2, and a part 3. And those episodes were taken or created while Chris and I were traveling in the UP on around Canada. We did a circle trip around Lake Superior, and we went mining in near Thunder Bay at the Amethyst mines. We spent, oh goodness, so much time just off grid and really communing with nature. And there was a theme there about slowing down and giving ourselves the space to tune out, to tune in, to reconnect, to disconnect, to reconnect within ourselves, and really be in connection with the earth, which again was one of those fantastic themes of the podcast, that earth-based connection, really connecting with the rhythm and the cycles of the earth. That, I think, is one of my favorite series that I created with this podcast. Actually, I don't have to think about it. It really was. It was one of my favorites. I really enjoyed that series. Their sacred travel has been a central part of my life. Oh, my goodness. I don't even know how long, for a very, very long time. And really being able to share that was a lot of fun. And then, of course, Chris and I were by Lake Superior, and we pretty much love spending time at Lake Superior. So there you go. All right, the next thing that's on here was that there was a lot of rock hunting, mining, that theme of how do you tune into the earth and really connect with it and call forward the crystals and stones that are for you. Yeah. And really letting them present themselves. I think, it's easy to pop online or pop into a shop and start looking for stones, but really stepping back and nurturing a relationship with the earth and letting the crystals and stones come forward in different ways. As I'm sure you know, I am very much a rock girl. I love my stones. I love my rocks. And I also really love my crystals. But there's just something about being able to recognize the gift and the wisdom that is present in all of them, and letting the magic that they share emerge through relationship. So super, super cool. The last theme that wants to come forward is one of listening within. Yeah. Actually, that was the birthplace for the sanctuary membership circle, was this theme of just really listening within and giving ourselves space and time to be present, to listen, to tune into our own inner voice of wisdom. I think actually this theme kind of weaves everything together. It's how we navigate change. It's how we begin to tune in and know which crystals and stones are our perfect allies. It's how we learn the ways that our soul wants and needs to be nourished. It's how we navigate where do we go for sacred travel. I think, this to me is such an important piece. The capacity, cultivating, nurturing, developing our own capacity to listen and tune into our inner wisdom, to hear our own inner voice. And all of these pieces, I guess all of these themes really weave together in a beautiful way. And they bring forward incredible gifts. And I want to invite you to just, really receive the ways that those have danced throughout this podcast as we move forward. Yeah. So moving forward. Well, it feels like over these past couple of years, so much has unfolded and changed and evolved and happened in my life. And one of the big things has been slowing down and shifting my own pace and presence and, the ways that I live life. And that's been really delightful. And it's given me space to do some writing and some serious writing. I think I've been talking about that over time. I've got a couple things that are in the works, big project wise, but big project wise with writing takes time. And they're all, kind of in process in their own different place and different way. But I've also been writing and contributing monthly to an online magazine called The Inner Voice. And, that's been actually, I think I've been contributing now monthly for about a year. That's been really a lot of fun and enjoyable because I am using different parts of my mind and my my skill set, and I like this. It's really enjoyable for me. So I think one of the things that is unfolding in my world is more writing. And that is not specific to the podcast. However, it kind of is. It's a part of how the podcast is going to evolve. So here's what's happening. Here's what is looking forward. As we look forward on the Crystal Shaman Life podcast, the first thing that's happening is I want to introduce you to the new name for this podcast. Meet me in sacred space. Yeah. I want a space where we can exhale and come together in sacred conversations, in sacred practice, in messages from the crystals and stones. Much of what I've been sharing on the podcast will probably be quite similar. It'll probably feel, very, very similar. But I do have some things, planned out that'll be a little bit differently. I have a couple guests lined up, which is really exciting. So here is what you can expect over the next couple weeks. For the next 2 weeks, I am going to take a podcasting pause while I run the Journey Jewels online jewelry show and sale. Yes, I am so excited about this. I have been working away on creating many did I say many? Many new pieces of jewelry. Wow. I'm looking at the collection right now. Part of rearranging the office was to kind of just nicely be able to lay out the collection so I could really see it and just like anchor into it within my office space. And wow, it's dynamic. It's beautiful. There are a lot of new pieces and fresh energy. Yeah, one big exhale of excitement. But putting together an online jewelry show, when I don't have my store, continuously running, it takes a little time. And in addition to that, I made a shift. Some of you may have shopped in the past on crystalshamanshop.com. Well, I moved everything to my own personal website, loriaandress.com. And there's a jewelry thing in the menu that you can just click on it and it'll take you to the jewelry page. But you can also just type in journeyjewels.com and it'll take you to the jewelry page. But the jewelry show will be on April 7th through the 11th. Doors will open on Thursday the 7th at 11:11 a.m. and they will close on Monday the 11th at 11:11 p.m. I'm going to take next week off from podcasting just because I want to really just give Crystal Shaman Life a little space to breathe and be complete, and then open the doors into Meet Me in Sacred Space, as well as it perfectly times out with this online event and prepping for the event and then prepping to ship everything. It just creates space for me to do that. So I'm gonna lean into that a little bit and just go into my creative jewelry cave for a little bit and really enjoy that part of the next 2 weeks. So April 19th will be the next episode. Next thing, if you want to know what is happening and unfolding, there's a lot going on right now. I want to invite you to join our email community. And I send out a message pretty regularly, about once a week. And then all of the events and things coming up, everything's shared there. I talk about it. So when the doors open for the jewelry show, you can bet there'll be an email that comes with that, so you won't miss it. I'd like to invite you over to my website, loriaandress.com, and there you will find a form to fill out for the Inner Wisdom collection. That is a collection of podcast episodes that focuses specifically on cultivating and nurturing your inner wisdom. It also has a guided meditation, a heart-centered guided meditation. I believe it's rose quartz, the rose quartz guided meditation. And then, because I love to get artsy and creative, there is a crystal coloring page. And that crystal coloring page is actually, you can see it on my homepage, but but it's downloadable. It's in a PDF and it's downloadable. And it is roses and crystals. And it's just a beautiful, soothing image. Wonderful, actually, as we're in the spring season, for just really letting yourself sink in and get artistic and creative. Lots of fun. All right. The other thing going on, I feel like I've got a massive list here. So Thursday marks the new moon in Aries. And for those of you in the sanctuary, you know that also means that the new moon call to action will be arriving in your inbox on Thursday. And for those of you who've been thinking about joining us in the sanctuary, this is a great time to join us. We'd love to have you. You can learn more, find out all the details over at loriaandress.com/sanctuary. All right. So that is what I have for you for episode 100, our beautiful journey of looking backwards and looking forwards. There is a lot coming, and I look forward to connecting with you again on April 19th. I invite you to meet me in sacred space. Bye for now. Hey, thanks for tuning in. If you enjoyed what you heard and would love to hear more, subscribe. And you can help others find us by sharing. Give us a couple stars, write a review, and tell people you know who would love to listen. I wish you a beautiful day, my sacred friends. Shine brightly.